Hi, I'm Rita. Welcome back to my booktube channel, Life Worth Reading. Today I am filming my May TBR. I'm going to say what everyone else is saying, like, how is it May already? I feel like we're all living in a parallel universe where time is going by way too fast. But I know that everyone thinks the same way as me, so it's not really worth mentioning. As you may already know, I do this TBR game every single month. I have a whole playlist of all of my previous tarot TBR videos if you want to check them out. And I am so ready for May because March and April, they were not good reading months for me. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't read as much as I did in January and February, and I didn't enjoy most of the books that I did read. And so those 2 months have been a stain on my record, and I really want to fix that in May. And as you also may know, May is the Asian American and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. So the whole May we are celebrating Asian literature, and because of that there is a month-long Asian readathon that's hosted by Cindy. I will leave all the details for that readathon down below. So last year I did participate in the Asian Readathon, but I made the mistake of separating the two. So I did my Asian Readathon TBR and then I did my Tarot TBR, and that did not work. Those were way too many books. So what I'm doing this year is that I'm not separating them. So I'm doing only my Tarot TBR, but the catch is that I have to pick an Asian book to go alongside every prompt. With that being said, you should definitely check out the announcement video for the Asian Readathon. They have some amazing prompts this year that are based from the movie Everything Everywhere All at Once that I really loved watching last month. And so the prompts are so much fun, but I just can't separate the two of them because if I have like a 10 book TBR again, I will collapse and I will cry. So that can happen. So I'm doing only my Tarot TBR, but yeah, I'm only picking Asian books for each of the prompts. With that being said, let's start by looking at last month's TBR to see if I need to apply some punishments. As always, you know that I do. You already know that I do. So let's just get into it and see my failures from last month. So last month I pulled the Tower book, which means that I had to pick a book from someone else's worst books of the year list and read that book. And I picked Kingdom of the Wicked by Carmen Escalco, and I did read that. Then I picked The Five of Something, and it was a 5-star prediction, and I picked Finley Donovan is Killing It by Al Casamano, and I did read that. Then I picked The High Priestess, which was to read like book with strong female characters, and I picked The Once and Future Wishes by Alexi Harrow, which I haven't read yet. So this is my first failure of the month. Here we go. I didn't read this book. Then we had The Princess of Pentacles, I want to say, and that was to read a new release, and I chose The Maid by Anita Prose, which I did read. Then I had the prompt The Empress, which was to read a book with a beautiful cover, and I was indecisive between either of these books, which is Lizzie and Dante by Mary Bly and Mrs. Death by Selena Godin. Plot twist, I DNF'd them both. I still have my marker in here. I could not go further than the 50% mark on this one. I didn't like it. And this one, I didn't get past 20-page mark. So, plot twist, I DNF'd them both. So, at least they're done. But yeah, I didn't fully read them. And the last prompt was to read an intimidating book. And I picked Rule of Wolves by Leigh Bardugo, which I haven't read yet. So that was my second fail of the month. Basically, because of that, I should apply 2 punishments, but I'm not going to do that. I'm only going to apply 1. So, we are picking 6 card pulls from my deck. Also, you should check out the Google Docs that I created down below with all the rules and all the prompts for my TBR game if you want to follow along with your own deck. Okay, so without any further ado, let's just get into the card pulls and see what the cards have in store for me in May. Welcome to the card pulling section of this TBR video. As you know, I always use the Mystic Mondays deck by Grace Young. It's my favorite deck in the world. And here we have all the cards. I am just going to separate them into Major Arcana and Minor Arcana. And when I'm done, we will see what the cards have in store for us. Okay, since I have to do 1 punishment, I'm not going to do 2. I'm going to do 1 punishment. So we're going to pick 3 cards from the Major Arcana pile and then 3 cards from the Minor Arcana cards. So 6 cards overall. And now let's just start mixing the Major Arcana cards and we'll see what the first one is. let's find out what the first card for our May TBR is. We have the Sun. Right, so the first card that I pulled was the Sun. As you saw me, I picked 3 cards from the Major Arcana and 3 cards from the Minor Arcana pile. And this was the first card that we pulled. And the Sun prompt is to read a really hyped up or like a really popular book. And for this one, I am obviously picking Convenience Store Woman by Sayaka Murata because like that is a very, very hyped up book that I haven't read yet. I tried reading Earthlings by the same author. I DNF'd it because it was very horrifying to read. There was some very, very not triggering for me particularly. It was just like very awful content, like children abuse and all that I couldn't get past. So I didn't read that. I DNF'd it. But I have some hopes for Convenience Store Woman. I have seen a lot of people give it 5 stars lately. So that's my hyped up book. And also, I think I might be also trying to read On Earth We're Briefly Gorgeous by Shen Vong. I haven't read that book yet. I feel like I'm the last person on earth that hasn't read that book. And I want to fix that. He is a Vietnamese American poet. And I am trying to read more poetry. English poetry hasn't always worked for me, but I think that this one might. So I'm going to give it a try. So those are my 2 books for this prompt. So we got the Sun as our first card, and it's a good card. I really do love the Sun. So let's find out what our second card is. Okay, let's find out what the second card is. We have the World. Then I pulled the World card. That is a very good card to pull because this basically means to read a book set in a different country than yours. And like the, not weirder, but like the more diverse and different from your own country, the better. And so for this book, I could pick any of my Asian TBR books. And for this one, I did pick A House is a Body by Shruti Swani. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it correctly. This is a short story collection set in America and India. And I don't read a lot of Indian books. I don't think I've read an Indian book maybe ever. So I wanted to use that card for this because I've never read a book set in India before, at least that I can remember. And yeah, it's a collection of short stories. It has amazing reviews. I don't know a lot about it, but I love short story collections. So I think that this might be a good one to pick. And let's find out what our third and last Major Arcana card is. Okay, and our third Major Arcana card is the Hermit. Then the next card that I pulled was the Hermit, which I have never gotten before, I don't think. And this prompt is to read a nonfiction, which I do love, but I don't read enough of. And honestly, for nonfiction, I do prefer memoirs. So these 2 selections are both memoirs because that's just the kind of nonfiction that I prefer. And one of my options is to read Know My Name by Chanel Miller because even though it is not specifically about cultural heritage, Chanel Miller is an Asian American woman, I believe. And so I've been meaning to read this memoir. She was very brutally assaulted in the Stanford College case, and this is her memoir telling all about it and regaining her power in defense of the situation. And so even though it's not specifically about being Asian, I don't think, maybe it has something to do with that, but she is an Asian American woman and I do want to read this memoir, so I might be fitting that in. And my other option is Tastes Like War by Grace M. Cho. And this memoir is about Grace, who is a Korean American woman that grew up during the Cold War. And it says that this is a part like a food memoir and also part like sociological theory. And it just sounds very interesting because I did read this year Crying in Age Mark by Michelle Zauner, and she's also a Korean American woman that wrote a memoir that was part like a food memoir, and I really enjoy that aspect of it. And so I feel like I might really love this book. I just found out about it through SCRIBD. I had never heard of it before, but apparently it won this year some award about Asian American literature, I think. Yeah, it won the 2022 Asian Pacific American Award in Literature. what is a greater time to read it than this month? It sounds amazing and I can't wait to get to it. All right, so with our major arcana cards already chosen, I'm gonna put them off here so I can have more space. We are going to pick the other 3 minor arcana cards. Let's do this. Let's find out what our first card is. We have the Princess of Pentacles. Then from the minor arcana cards, I picked the Princess of Pentacles again. I think that I picked this card last month, but yeah, this is to read a new release. And for this one, I think I might read Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Sulin Tan, because it's a fantasy. It's an Asian-inspired fantasy, obviously. And I've been hearing a lot of mixed things about it. And listen, I just saw Kayla's video of like April wrap-up, and she gave this book 5 stars. I trust Kayla with all my heart. We have a lot of the same taste in books. So if she gave it 5 stars, I'm definitely going to love it. Let me know if you've read it, what you think of it, because she did say that the first half was like very DNF worthy, but that the second half really pulled through and she gave it 5 stars. And I want to give it 5 stars too. So that's my new release for this month. Okay, and our second card of the minor arcana is the 7 of Wands. Then I pulled the 7 of Wands, and I am going to cheat a little bit because this is to read like a Portuguese book, so like written by a Portuguese author, but that doesn't really fit into the theme that I'm trying to go for. So I am doing like read a book in your native language. So I am reading a book that was translated into Portuguese, and I am reading Clara and the Sun by Kazuo Ishiguro. I have never read anything by this author. This is a library book that I picked up last month that I still haven't gotten to. And I know this book is about artificial intelligence. I think it's about this robot hybrid woman named Clara, and she's like an artificial friend, which I do not know what it means, but I am excited to find out. And yeah, this book was translated in Portuguese, so I am fitting into this theme, but it is a Japanese book. So I am excited to get to it. I need to give it back to my library, so I need to get to this ASAP. Okay, so now we are ready to find out what our final card of this TBR is. And our last card is the 10 of Wands. Oh no. And the last card that I pulled was the most horrible one. It's a 10 of Wands. The 10 of Wands means to read a really long-ass book, so over 500 pages. And besties, I really racked my brain around for this one because I did not know what to pull on here. But then I remembered that I'm doing a buddy read with Jess over from Verity Books and Delphi from the Oracle of Delphi. We are buddy reading The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang in May. And listen, this book was literally on my Asian Readathon TBR last year. So I'm getting a little bit of deja vu, but this is the time. I'm going to read that book. Even if it ends me, we are going to read that book. And it's going to be great. And it's a very, very long ass book, so I need to get started on it right away. Yeah. Then some other books that I would like to read this month that do not fit the theme of the Asian Readathon are mostly my library books. So the first one that is not is the one that I already mentioned, The Once and Future Wishes by Alexi Harrow. I do want to read this book. I didn't get to it last month, but I'm hoping that this is the month that I do. Then from my library books, I have Drive Your Plow Over Bones. I feel like I just fucked that up. I'm not sure if that's the name. But this is a Portuguese translation, and this is by Olga Tokarczuk. That is a Polish author that won the Nobel Literature Prize with this book. And so I've been meaning to read it, but it was one of those books that I'm never going to buy, you know? And since it is translated from Polish, I think that I can only like really appreciate when books are translated in Portuguese if they are translated from a language that I don't know. So when books are written in English and translated to Portuguese, and since I know English so well, it just feels weird because like I am reading the original version in my head. But when books are translated from like a different language that I don't know, for example, Polish, I can really appreciate the Portuguese in it because it's the only language that I know. Does that make any type of sense? Maybe not. But this is a mystery, I think. Maybe not. But I am excited to read this book. If it won the Nobel Prize, I want to see what it's all about. And so that's one book I want to read this month. Next up, we have The Hazelwood by Melissa Albert. This book was in my library. I did not notice it at first. And then I was like, you know what? It might be time for me to read this because it's also one of those YA books, like YA fantasy books that I was like, I'm never going to buy this. But if it's for free, I'm going to read it because I am curious about it. Melissa Albert and this particular book have been dominating the YA scene like a few years ago. They're not as popular anymore, but I want to see what the hype was all about. So I am going to give this one a try. And finally, there are probably a lot more books that I want to read, but I have Wild Beauty by Anne-Marie McLemore that I am currently reading. I am 100 pages into it. It was kind of confusing at first, but I am enjoying it. And yeah, I can't wait to finish and see what I think. Okay, so that is my 10 book TBR that I told you that I did not want to have that big of a TBR. These are all of the physical books that I have right here. Most of them are library books. Only one of them isn't. But I am really excited about this month. I hope that my reading goes better than the last 2 months because it has been a mess. Like, I'm going to film my April TBR, my April wrap-up right after this. And I am scared for my life because like I have nothing good to say about the books that I've read, basically. But here's to hoping that May goes way better. I hope that you are all participating in the Asian Readathon, and let me know what is your favorite like recommendation for this readathon. Let me know down below so I can add a few of them to my TBR. As always, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more bookish content, and I'll see you in my next video. I hope you have a nice day, and always remember that life is worth reading.